All right. Hello. Let me get the chat.
Whoops.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Did I break?
No, I just had to reverb because I didn't pause our stream.
We're doing fine. Hello and welcome to Only Stupid Answers. My name is Sam Bashor.
I'm DJ Wooldridge.
Bing, bang, boom, and welcome to episode 3 of QuaranTarantino. This is the series where we revisit all of the filmography of Mr. Quentin Tarantino.
Yes.
That's the official pronunciation. Uh-oh, got brainworms. We're going to be talking about Pulp Fiction today, his second directorial film.
Yes.
But it's our third review because we talked about True Romance last week. Go ahead and check out that review over at patreon.com/OnlyStupidAnswers. And to switch it up, we're making these double features and pairing them with a movie that might be more up my alley. Because not that I don't like Quentin Tarantino movies, that's more DJ's department.
Yes. So, yeah, as Sam said, this is going to be Quentin Tarantino's second movie that he directed. He also got the writing credit, but the story he created with Roger Avery, who you might know from like Beowulf and some other stuff. Interesting note, as I was doing some research on this, I ran across the story that apparently it was supposed to be co-written by the two of them, but Quentin Tarantino convinced Roger Avery to give him sole writing credit, and Roger just got a story credit so that it could be written and directed by Quentin Tarantino as like a branding thing. And at first I was like, oh, that's kind of shady. And then I did some more research on Roger Avery, and I think that maybe that's fine. Maybe that's fine. He's got like a manslaughter charge, and I'm not going to dive too much deeper into it, but we're just gonna say maybe that's fine.
There you go. Well, for the people who don't know, and you're just watching a review of a movie you don't know, here's the synopsis. The lives of two mob hitmen, a boxer, a gangster, and his wife, and a pair of diner bandits intertwine in 4 tales of violence and redemption. So how many times have you seen this movie? Be honest.
A few. That's actually a really good question. How many times have I seen it? I've seen pieces of it a bunch. This is something I will revisit occasionally if I'm writing something tangentially related to it, because I really like the way that it gives exposition without giving exposition. Like you learn a lot about Marcellus Wallace in the conversation between Vincent and I'm blanking on Samuel Jackson's character's name, as Jules. Thank you. As they're walking through, it sounds like they're just having like a conversation, but what it's doing is it's laying a lot of backstory for who Marcellus Wallace is, who these characters are. It's giving you a lot of exposition that I think would be a lot clunkier in a lesser movie. So parts of this movie I revisit a lot. I've revisited this movie a few times. I will say it is undeniable the influence this movie, how influential this movie has been. However, oh my goodness.
You're getting an agreement in the background.
Yeah. My neighbor probably sneezed 3 houses down, and my dog decided to comment on it.
She's on edge.
We're all on edge. She's tired of having me around the house. But perhaps because of how directly influential this movie is, it's actually not like I enjoy it. It's a movie I very much enjoy, but of Quentin Tarantino's movies, it's not like in my top movies. You know what I mean? Especially when you rewatch it, you're like, oh yeah, so many people have specifically ripped off this movie in uncreative ways. But before we dive any deeper, we got to say on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 92% with a 96% audience score. The critics' consensus is one of the most influential films of the 1990s. Yes, it is. Pulp Fiction is a delirious postmodern mix of neo-noir thrills, pitch black humor, and pop culture touchstones. So, Sam, you've not watched this before.
No, never have.
What are your thoughts?
So weirdly, I always would like see it on TV or like where was it? Or it would turn on in like a hotel room because like they had like HBO, and like for some reason it would always start at Bruce Willis's story.
Nice.
At Butch's story specifically. 2 times I turned it on. One was him grabbing the sword, and then walking down and opening the door, and I was like, come on with this edgy crap. And I was like, because it's like I don't have any context.
Yeah.
This is literally all I've seen. And I'm like, So I'm like, I'm not watching it. And then like later, it was when he was like tied up, and I'm like, it was from before, like a few minutes before that he got the sword, and I was like, I don't want to watch this again. I already saw this.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is my only window, is that scene of the movie, and I had seen pieces of the monologue Sam Jackson gives at the very end of the movie to talk himself out,
the ending
which is amazing.
Yeah, the ending is by far my favorite sequence in the whole movie.
Yeah, and every nerdy film kid in my high school had a bad motherfucker wallet.
I think
they sold them at Hot Topic.
I think that's what I'm talking about, is stuff like that, stuff that's like knowingly cool, that I feel like, and this may, if we keep watching these movies, I think we'll see how it plays out. I think Tarantino is smart enough, is a good enough filmmaker to see how much that stuff had been seeped into culture and then abandon it, because there aren't bad motherfucker wallets in later movie. You know what I mean? Like, there's not some stuff that's just like knowingly cool. I think in his next movie is Jackie Brown, which is adapted from an Elmore Leonard book, and I think he picked up some very good things from Elmore Leonard's work, where and also from that movie you hire a lot of character actors that are just naturally cool and give off that vibe, and so you don't have to have stuff, that those little affectations that now, being in the 2020s, are a little bit distracting. It's still like it's a really tremendous movie, but stuff like that, I think, because of all the like Lucky Number 11s and Smoking Aces and all those movies, have not aged as well.
Mm-hmm. Good shouts. That makes sense. That lined up in my brain. I understood it. Because I haven't seen those, but I do know.
You know that type of movie.
I know the flavor. Yeah. But no, the best part of this movie for me, like, not that Reservoir Dogs was bad, or I do, so far True Romance has been my least favorite, but it's still not bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my, it's a specific type of 90s movie that I wouldn't personally want to revisit. If we weren't doing a show like this, didn't dislike it, but this movie I could see myself revisiting, because of course.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's like, it's weird at this point where it's like, in history, not in what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's that it is a touchstone.
Yeah.
It is a cornerstone. It's like if we reviewed like Casablanca, or like or Gone with the Wind, or the original Wizard of Oz, where it's just like, yeah, I can like find the things. It's like, hey, I didn't like that the one guy hung himself in the background in the Scarecrow scene, but like, you know, like, but like that doesn't detract from the fact that these movies are unbelievably important to our cultural identity as film reviewers, fans of film, and also just Americans. Like, there's aspects of this that have seeped out into other properties, film, TV, literature, and has forever changed how we communicate with each other and how we view things. So it's like, there's that.
Yeah.
I thought it was okay. I give it a C. No, so I obviously really enjoyed this movie, and it's the dialogue that makes it so compelling that I don't find any of the story beats to be at all like lacking at all. I don't think there's a reason to comb through continuity in a movie like this, you know, to try, if there were flaws. I'm not saying there are, but like, sometimes in movie reviews we do kind of get into that because there are glaring ones, but it doesn't matter because the movie's so enjoyable, and seeing these people talk with each other, that's what you do. It's like we even called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a hangout movie, but so are all of his movies. They all are these little moments of people being together, and there's just but the plot in this movie is more driven than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's very clear what we're doing in this, compared to that movie, and it's not a dig. It's just they're different movies. So the aspects that I love are the people getting to know each other, and also well-established relationships like with John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson. I'm really glad Samuel L. Jackson gets so many incredible lines. Also, when was the last time I watched a movie that I liked with John Travolta in it? I mean, I'm not trying to take swings. I just can't remember one.
Yeah.
I just can't. I was like just trying to like cast my mind back. I was like, I liked him in Hairspray, but I don't know if I'm supposed to like him when he plays the mom. I know that's like a trope for Hairspray, where like you get a really big actor, guy to play the mom in this. Yeah. So you guys figure that one out for me in the comments. But yeah, no, it was really cool to see him give an amazing performance. And I feel like, were we talking off camera? Because I mentioned Moonrise Kingdom, and that's a Wes Anderson movie starring Bruce Willis. And I think I might be incorrect. I was going to say it's the only Wes Anderson movie with Bruce Willis in it. I don't know.
I don't think it is, but yes, he is in Moonrise Kingdom.
And you said that mutual friend of the show, Owen Carter, said that the movies where Bruce Willis even has a little bit of hair are the ones where he's trying. Yes. Where he has like and it's clear, he has got like a little bit of hair and he's trying really hard, and like it's one of my favorite performances of his. I thought it's a really good job. Also, is Ving Rhames just not sellable enough? Like, he's great in Mission Impossible movies. He's really good in this movie.
Why doesn't he show up in more things?
Yeah, he's great in the Aquaman pilot that never got picked up.
That's right.
That show was bad. Yeah, he was either from Atlantis or he wasn't. I can't tell you, but he was in it. He was in it.
That's what we should review. We should review failed pilots.
Yeah, we could find them. There's a couple. Find
the original Lock and Key pilot somewhere.
That's somewhere.
Do Aquaman. Yeah. No, I'm with you on Ving Rhames because he's so good here. It's a little like John Travolta, one of his great performances, and this kind of led to a resurgence in the career of Bruce Willis and John Travolta. I think it was after this John Travolta did Get Shorty, which was an adaptation of an Elmore Leonard book.
Which is beloved by many. That's beloved by dads all over America. My dad quotes Get Shorty often.
Get Shorty's pretty good. Get Shorty's a good movie.
It is. Yeah. It's not knocking it. Yeah. Somebody is to blame for the way our parents behave sometimes, and you got to point to those movies.
That's a good
John
point.
Candy movies. John Candy, love you, miss you, but my dad's whole sense of humor is John Candy, and so whenever I watch Cool Runnings now, it's just like, it's my dad.
I love Cool Runnings. You know what? Cool Runnings is a movie I don't know if it holds up, but I remember loving it as a kid.
Oh, it does.
Okay, good. Glad to hear it.
Side note. They did run out of money at certain points with shooting, or they just didn't have enough coverage, and they would just reuse shots sometimes.
Love it.
It's delightful watching it where you're like, same take.
Yeah, but it's funny. Like, John Travolta's performance is so good in this, especially during the whole Bonnie situation sequence, because he's such a kind of a pain in the ass the whole time. And Bruce Willis, rewatching it, Bruce Willis has one of my favorite bits, because as somebody who can get cranky at times, I very much relate to, you are very angry at your significant other, but you realize that moments you're at fault, so you dismantle it. You're like, you know what? It's not your fault. I made this mistake. Now I'm going to go resolve it. But then the second you're alone again, you're like, come on, I told you, I said the thing. So I really related to his character in that. But my favorite moments, I love the whole Bonnie situation. One of my favorite sight gags is when Jules is trying to explain to Marcellus the situation, and there's the visual of like Bonnie coming home, and she walks in as all three of them are like handling the body. And then the whole scene in the diner, because I think this is like a lot of Tarantino's early work where it doesn't necessarily mean anything. When I was doing research on it, there's so many think pieces and essays and stuff on this movie that I don't know if it warrants it, because I don't think it's about anything really. But if it is about something, I think it is about, because of course his love for pop culture and stuff like that, the meaning we attribute to things. Because at the end, Jules has to reckon with this thing he says, which by the way is not a real Bible. Like it's part of a real Bible verse, but it's actually more pulled directly from a Sonny Chiba movie. And it's something he would say, and so now it's something Jules says. But what it actually means, and the truth is, it doesn't mean anything except what Jules makes it mean. It's the same thing with the Golden Watch. One of my other favorite scenes is with Christopher Walken explaining the long tortured backstory of this crazy watch. And truthfully, the watch doesn't mean anything. It was up a guy's ass. It doesn't. It's
two guys.
It's trash at this point. I don't even know if it still tells time. But the meaning that Butch attributes to it, because it was his granddad's watch, it was his great granddad's watch, and then his granddad's watch, and then his dad's watch, and those last two gentlemen died prior to getting the watch to their children. That's what gives it meaning. And so I think this movie only has whatever meaning you would attribute to it.
Mm-hmm. And just for clarity's sake, I should have asked this off camera, but we can talk about it just so I understand the goings-on of events for Butch's story.
Yes.
He approaches Ving Rhames' character.
Yeah,
Marcellus, thank you. And he is going to throw a fight to make money because he just he's kind of a failed fighter, right? Like they talk about like sometimes people make it, some people don't, and sometimes people can't tell if they didn't make it. He's like, you didn't make it, so he's like, you're gonna throw the fight, you're gonna get the money, right? Like he's gonna get money, and then they're gonna run. And the way I interpret it was he accidentally killed somebody. He accidentally killed the guy he was fighting because he didn't even know that he killed him.
Yes.
And the plan was to go on the run after that.
So the plan was Marcellus, I think, approached him to throw a fight, so Marcellus could make a lot of money. Once the fix was in, that's what we learn when he's on the phone in the phone booth. That basically he basically let word leak that the fix was in, and so he bet for himself while everybody else was betting against him. And so that when he won, because he bet on himself and nobody else did, he made all the money. And I believe they established that the friend he's going to pick up the money from is in Tennessee. So, because he is big enough, like we see in his apartment, we see there's boxing posters of him. Like he's not necessarily a nobody in the boxing world. And so he was going to go pick up that money and then hide from the money he won betting on himself. Although he did not intend to kill the guy that he was fighting. And it's interesting, when I was reading about it, Quentin Tarantino compared him to a lot of like old movie, like noir heavies. Even though this is compared to a neo-noir, I would dispute whether it's a neo-noir. I think it's called Pulp Fiction. It owes itself more to hard-boiled fiction, which is not synonymous with noir. But like a lot of those hard-boiled heroes, like he wanted him to be like a bully, like a mean guy. And it's funny with Bruce Willis is so innately likable. There's a lot of that in there. I mean, he did accidentally kill a guy, but compared to the other people in this movie, he seems to be the most like, okay, he is comparatively the most decent person, just because everybody else is a hitman.
By choice. He was a boxer, and he does kill someone because he's defending himself to a degree, not really. Like the guy walks out of the bathroom and a Pop-Tart scares him, so he unloads a bunch of bullets into him. So it's like, yeah, you're not great. And also, even though he does have that freak out at his girl, like, it's like, you gotta remember, like, even in this freak out, like, there are times when you get frustrated at people. He's having a full tantrum where he's like tearing apart a hotel room, and he's like, you know what? I'm at fault here. Yeah. And it's like, remember, still the bad guy. Yeah. But I do like, it's a moment of clarity where he's like, I'm wrong. I'm going to go figure this out. But I still like his freak out because it is justified because everyone feels that way. Everyone's had those freakouts where it's like, but do remember, he tore apart the hotel room.
He did. But also, it's a smart moment to show that he genuinely loves this person. Like, it's not like, and that's the whole reason we spend any time with them prior to him having to go to watch, is like, he really does care about this person. And some fun factoids. Quentin Tarantino, off of the strength of Reservoir Dogs, was offered a ton of movies prior to doing Pulp Fiction, and he decided to do Pulp Fiction. But some of the ones that I like were, he was offered to direct Speed, and he turned that down. And I feel like that movie would have been a very different movie.
But very cool. I do love Speed, though.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Speed, so I feel like it's a win-win in this situation. He was also offered to direct Men in Black, which is another movie I genuinely love.
And I feel like I'm blanking on the director's name.
It was Barry Sonnenfeld for Men in Black.
I was going to say Steven Sonnenfeld, but Seinfeld. Yeah. But yeah, no, his specific flavor I think is really good. It lends well to Men in Black, but that is a really cool pitch. They keep pitching Quentin Tarantino for like these sci-fi properties, and I do want to see it. I do like Star Trek, or like even like Luke Cage. Like he was like looking at. That was like always rumors. Yeah, he was doing a Luke Cage movie.
And apparently the rumor is after Reservoir Dogs, he went to, I don't think it was Marvel at the time. It was whoever had the rights, but he went and had a full Silver Surfer script written. And he went to Constantine Films because apparently I guess they had the Silver Surfer rights and offered them Silver Surfer, and they passed. And it's like, that's it, especially trying to imagine how you would even do that movie in the 90s. That's insane. Apparently when he kind of hit a slump directly after Death Proof, because Death Proof wasn't really a success, so all the studios started circling him, and he was offered Green Lantern, and he was offered like what was it, Battlefield Earth was something that, because he worked with John Travolta here, John Travolta originally pitched to him Battlefield Earth. And
I'm very glad he said no.
Yes. Well, apparently the way it's phrased here is he passed due to scheduling conflicts. It's like, yeah, scheduling conflicts.
That's That's so professional.
Sure.
It's such a professional reason not to do that. But anyways, but speaking of John Travolta, I do like how unceremonious his death is. It's just like, yep, he's done.
Yep.
That's it. That's it. And even though we have grown to like this character a lot, I also it was confusing because I had seen the end of the movie, and I know he's in the end of the movie. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm guessing this is like a flashback, so we'll have to figure that out later. But I do like that Sam Jackson does get out of it.
Yes.
For as far as we know, he does get out of it. I like that Bruce Willis gets out of it. Ving Rhames, I mean, I'm glad he's not being... What's happened to him in this movie is not happening anymore. So, like, because that's awful. And also, like, knowing that scene happened, I was like, how the hell are we going to get to this? You know, like, in my head, I was like, we're just running right now.
Yeah.
And he ends up in a thrift store, in, like, a pawn shop, basically.
Yeah. Yes.
A nightmare.
Yeah, it goes... when he says, like, this is the single weirdest day I've had in my entire life, it's like, that's true for a lot of these characters on any one of these given days.
By the way, Harvey Keitel, I just like that it's just, like, fortitude, you know? It's like he's got this, like, rock in his soul that is able to anchor the rest of the performances around him.
Yes.
When he shows up as Mr. Wolf.
Yes.
Mr. Wolf. Wiggum, right? William Wiggum?
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, he's just the wolf.
Yeah, the wolf. The way he handles John Travolta being a little snot-nosed brat. That's how I imagined it in the scene where he's like, police would be nice. It's like, you accidentally blew a man's head off. You accidentally. And this man has to come now and within an hour and a half, solve your problem. You suck, man. But of course that's exactly how you're supposed to feel, and seeing how the wolf handles it, where it's like he's not mad at him. Mm-hmm. He's just like very clear about the job he has right now.
Yeah.
What he has to do, and he has to use the people that he has there. So tearing this guy down in a more aggressive way is not going to get him to do it. So he knows exactly the things he needs to say to get this done immediately. He's like the dad that you respect. You know, he's like the dad, not the like the dad of the friend that you respect. You're like, whoa, like he's got all the great stories. He could probably help me figure out how to change a tire. You know, like that's the kind of guy, and like it's the great part about movies like this is that we know the characters enough that we can understand who these people are in our own lives. But I did have a question for you.
Yes,
because in our other reviews and off camera, you had mentioned that like we had talked. It's hard not to talk about this, but the use of Quentin Tarantino as a writer and a director of the N-word in his movies.
Yes,
and I was like halfway through the movie, and I was like, well, they haven't really like said it. I like maybe like once, maybe twice, like, but it's like it's pretty light right now. I haven't heard it, and then like you get a lot of it, especially from Quentin Tarantino himself saying it. And I remember you saying you disliking that choice of, not mean like, I don't know, I'm gonna say you're probably not a fan of it being used in other movies, but it's understandable for the characters, but you said you dislike the use of it in this movie, correct?
Yeah, I think mostly because in Reservoir Dogs, I think it's a stark reminder that these people are not great people, and also if you've watched early Martin Scorsese gangster films, a lot of the Italian gangsters use that word in that, and there's kind of a continuity there in the way films portray gangsters as not being nice people, weirdly. And then in the scene in True Romance, it's a way for him to like to speed up this torture scene. You know what I mean? The person that's being tortured wants to like end it quick. In this, especially because it is Quentin Tarantino, it's like, oh, you just want to say the N-word. I will say, again, I was doing some research. Originally, that role was supposed to go to Steve Buscemi, and he had to turn it down. He wasn't able to commit to it. And so then Tarantino did get it, but it is one of those, because it is Tarantino, it's like, I feel like the argument that would be made is it is a way to continue to make the scene, since this is supposed to be Jules' friend, it is a way to like, to punctuate. It's almost used as an exclamation point to make the audience feel uncomfortable, because this is supposed to be like, there's supposed to be a lot of tension here about us resolving this quickly. But because it's Tarantino and all this stuff, it's like I can't make a good argument for the use of it in this particular scene, in this situation. I will say I do think we kind of enter into a turning point in this, in his career, specifically with the inclusion of Samuel L. Jackson. This is the first Tarantino movie where we have a prominent black character. This is the first Tarantino movie where we have a prominent woman with Uma Thurman's character as well. And I think Tarantino has said that he he sees if his actors change the dialogue, he perceives them as that rewriting the scene, and he's like, I don't let anybody rewrite my scenes except Samuel Jackson. He's like, I would even phrase it that he's a good writer. The additions he makes. And I think it's just one of those like, it's one of those when you see like a director really mesh with an actor, it's like, oh, this is when you two do your best work. This is Samuel L. Jackson does his best work when he's with Tarantino. Tarantino does his best work when he's working with Samuel Jackson. Like this is it. You know what I mean? And I think,
by the way,
yeah,
I don't disagree with you, but to kind of backpack off that really quick, Sam, I fully agree with Sam Jackson's performances. Like, sure, you like him as Nick Fury, but have you ever been like amped when he's like on screen? Like, it's not that he's giving a bad performance, it's just like I've never seen this energy, like not this role, this like oomph behind his character. And it made me think about how his fake Nick Fury grave in Winter Soldier has the Ezekiel Bible verse on it, and it's like, why do I feel that's lame now? Like, why do I feel like that feels like the same as like the kid putting up a bunch of like Fight Club posters in his dorm?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think you're the cool one in this situation.
Yeah.
I just thought about that in passing, but I do have to agree. It's just like you do get the really fiery performances from Sam Jackson when he's teamed up with Quentin Tarantino. And you mentioned Uma Thurman. I did want to say, I can't remember the last time I saw Uma Thurman in a movie just at all, like in anything. And it was wonderful to see her in this, and also playing off John Travolta. What is this restaurant?
Oh yeah,
what is it?
It's something they made for the movie. It's just a way for him to like fit in as many pop culture references as he can into a single movie. Steve Buscemi does.
I want to go. It's like a Chuck E. Cheese for adults.
It is, and of course Steve Buscemi does make a cameo in that because he's their waiter as Buddy Holly.
Did not recognize.
Yeah, he's there in that, and I was wondering if it was something that existed, but that's actually apparently where the biggest amount of money went in the budget was making that restaurant.
Wow.
Yeah. So, in just a couple final things, Vincent is actually supposed to be Mr. Blonde's. Vincent in this movie, John Travolta's character, is supposed to be Michael Madsen's brother in Reservoir Dogs. They both have the last name Vega. At one point, Tarantino wanted to make a movie called Double V Vega, but of course, both those characters die in their respective movies, and the actors have continued to age, so that's not gonna happen. And also, this goes to my favorite fan theory about what's in the suitcase, what's in the briefcase. I like to imagine, and this is not original to me, I heard this somewhere, but I like it. I like to imagine it is the diamonds from Reservoir Dogs that are in the case. Also, in the scene where they get the case, Brett, the guy who they're interrogating, who they end up shooting, is actually played by Frank Whaley, who you might recognize as Scarf from Luke Cage.
Yeah. Yep. He's great. And other actor's name, popular voice actor Phil LaMarr.
Yes,
it was very cool seeing a very baby-faced Phil LaMarr.
Yeah.
I do like seeing him. Bummer, his fate's a bummer in this movie. But to kind of wrap it up, it was not the whole Tim Roth scene with his like significant other in the diner. It's so funny to hear, like, you fully understand the thinking of these people, like you get why they're believing what they're saying, but it's like no one ever robs a restaurant in broad daylight. Who would ever think to do that? Like there's no like security here. It's like, yeah, it's just like most people. My initial thought was like, I'm not even a bank robber. It's like, yeah, because that means there's probably cops there. Like they're gonna just be off-duty cops.
Yeah.
Like that. There's a reason people don't do this, but also it doesn't matter because it's just meant to be a setup for a scene. And yeah, no, I can't help but give this movie like a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know if there's any other final thoughts, but all the vignettes are really good. Uma Thurman gives a great performance. I knew about, because like it's also like looking back at things I had heard about this movie and now seeing them in context just like make them less heightened than they were in my brain, because I knew Uma Thurman like did heroin,
yes,
and then she ODs and she's got to get the dart in her throat,
yeah,
or the needle in her dart in her throat, the needle in her chest. I knew that happened, but the way it happened in the movie was far more enjoyable to watch as like a dramatic scene, and a ticking clock, than what it was in my brain. I thought it was just like edgy BS, but it's not. I mean, maybe there's an argument for it, but I didn't see it. I didn't interpret it that way as a viewer watching it. But in my head, I had heightened the scene up where I was like, oh, like it's not. It can't be as good as people are saying it is. But then you watch it, and it's like, of course it is.
Yeah.
Why do I think I'm better than this movie? What do I think I am? It's like, obviously, this movie's a 10 out of 10. Fully enjoyed it. I could see myself rewatching it. Not a lot. It is longer than I expected, but it's not in a bad way. I had a ticking clock to review it, so that's why I had to ask clarifications about Bruce Willis's story, just so I fully understood it while we're doing the review. But on a rewatch, what would you give it?
I would give it probably a 9.5 because it's excellent. It's amazing. There's I think. Later movies will see Tarantino grow a lot as a filmmaker from this, but you can't deny the influentialness of the movie and how great it is. So yeah, probably like a 9.5 out of 10.
Very cool. Well, hey, let's hop into our double feature.
Yes.
You so help me again, because you gave me recommendations and I picked the double features. What was the thinking behind 500 Days of Summer? I forgot what the pitch was.
It was a little bit tough because all the first Tarantino stuff is all like crime movies. So it's like I had to like, what could we possibly do to like switch it up and give you an opportunity to choose different things? And so since this movie is famous for not being told chronologically, what were other movies that weren't in chronological order? And so that's the 500 Days of Summer is famous for that.
Mm-hmm. And I had never seen it before, so I was more than willing to check it out. Nope, never seen it. So, and it's one of those movies everyone's like, you haven't seen it? And it's like in the different way, where it's like, it's not like a classic movie that I should see. People were like, you eat up all that romantic comic BS, and this is way up your alley. I'm like, I get it, but like, something about it just didn't get me excited. I remember seeing the trailers and I was like, oh, cool. And then like I just missed it.
Yeah.
And then like whenever we had movie nights, no one would pick the movie to watch.
Yeah.
And then I had heard the pitch for the movie and like I get it. I get the idea of it. And I had and also I'd heard the criticism of the movie. So I was like, okay, let's hop into it. And I'll say right off the bat, I think Mark Webb is a very good director. It's very cool that he got to go on and do the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and I really like his movie with Chris Evans. Chris Evans. Crap. Let me pull it up really quick, just so I can find it. I think that's actually his strongest directing.
Okay.
It's just
while you're looking that up, I'll say that 500 Days of Summer has an 85% on Rotten Tomatoes with an 84% audience score. The critics' consensus is a clever, offbeat romantic comedy. 500 Days of Summer is refreshingly honest and utterly charming.
Yeah, I get the charm in the direction, the editing.
Mm-hmm.
I think this movie would be very boring if you played it linearly.
Yes.
And I think the graphic design department and the VFX department were having a hoot and a half putting together all like the interstitial bits, the little connective tissue, or if you guys are currently reading X-Men, like those information packets that you get where it's like clearly the writer and the artist are having a lot of fun putting this together. Gifted is the Chris Evans movie. It's a wonderful film, and I truly enjoyed watching that movie. So I do enjoy Mark Webb.
I didn't know Mark Webb directed that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he directed Gifted, and also he may have written it too. I'll pull it up really quick. We should watch Gifted, by the way.
There you go.
A very good movie. It was not written by him, but anyways, yeah. So watching this movie, it's very clear. I understand the criticisms of the movie that the main guy, played by JGL, which, by the way, you can't knock this movie for bringing us more JGL because I like Joseph Gordon-Levitt a lot.
Same.
And this
Big
is
fan.
the movie that made him an A-lister.
Yes.
That brought him back from like Third Rock from the Sun and whatnot. And his little, I wouldn't call it lull. He was just doing other stuff. He wasn't like
before this. Before this he did Brick, which was Rian Johnson's first film. You're right. This is this movie that like propelled him to stardom. Mm-hmm.
And also I think Zooey Deschanel does a good job. I think before this was like Elf and a couple other movies that were like kind of where she has to play like very stoic stone-like characters, and that's kind of the role in this movie a little bit.
Yes.
But I don't like think she's wrong at all in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's moments where like they're getting in fights and stuff, and you can kind of like get mad at some of the decisions she makes. But also, it's just like it's just weird that like you were talking about this off camera, so I'll reiterate and you can clarify if we need to, but like you mentioned that like people took the wrong lessons from this movie, similar to like Fight Club. Oh wait, you sent me an article.
Yes.
AV Club did it,
Yeah.
and they where people take. I felt that people took the wrong lessons from Fight Club and also some of Quentin Tarantino's movies and this movie. They took the wrong, like in the movie, they set up that his character, let me go ahead and I have the cast list in front of me, JGL's character misinterprets the end of The Graduate as a happy movie, and it's more of it's a comedy. They're ripping on these people for being idiots, for throwing their lives away. That's the point. I think people misinterpret his like lovesick puppy dog attitude because she acts like an adult and he clearly either hasn't been in a proper relationship before or really have any other healthy relationships. And it's worth mentioning that this is from a different time, not that long ago.
Yeah, 2009.
But not that long ago, which I read in the article that you sent me. But it is a different time in the way that like media portrayed relationships like this.
Yeah.
You know, like, or the way they dealt with romantic comedies. Like, there are still romantic comedies, but they treat them with the slightest bit more realism. There's still like a lot of, but anyways, this movie's kind of like riddled with flaws like that. The way that like the guys immediately like call her like a slut because like she won't talk to him, and you're like, gee, and everyone's like, yeah, for sure. And then she says hi, and everyone backs off. Like, I get the criticism that is being made there, but like seeing that portrayed, it I could see people taking the wrong lesson from that.
Well, and it's tough too. It's tough too because there's the whole thing about like, oh, I don't know if I should, whatever. He's talking like a high schooler, and he's a grown man. He's an adult.
That's the thing. And also, I do want to say that I, as an individual, as a man, as a boy, and I grew up, and I was very lovesick, and I thought of myself as like, oh, romantic, and I definitely had wrong interpretations of how like to court people and also like talking to them and the way I thought relationships should have worked. You know, like I understand the character he's trying to put. I hope to God I wasn't like that.
Yeah.
I hope to Christ, but I understand it, and I think that's where this movie can be strong if you understand the lesson being told, and I don't think people did. And that's why I think that article you sent was a very, very succinct and well put, that like people misunderstand, because she very clearly says like, this is what I'm looking for, and he lies. Yeah. And he says, well, I could just make her love me. And it's like, that blows, man. Yeah. That blows for both of you. Well, and it's like, not only is that not fair to her, it's really not fair to you too.
That's why I shared it with you, because I thought it was a very succinct way of saying it better than I probably could or would. And so, but it is tough because there is that argument that he grows. By the way, that article was by Carolyn Seedy for the AV Club. She did a very good job on that. There is the argument to be made that, like you could look at the ending when he meets Autumn, played by Minka Kelly, who's a very attractive person, that he hems and haws with Zooey Deschanel, and then at the end, he's grown as a person, and so he just immediately very casually and plainly and like a human being asks Autumn out, and it works, as opposed to all the weird stuff that went on with her character. But the movie also starts off with that weird like. And I imagine this played differently in 2009. This is not based on real people. That includes you, and it says a person's name, and it's like, you bitch, and it's like, whoa, that's a weird tone to start this whole movie off on, because then it's hard to overcome that feeling of like, does this movie hate women? It took me like the whole movie, because I remember enjoying it when I was in college, like around the time it originally came out, because I was awkward with women and all that stuff. But now as an adult, you're looking back on it, the whole movie, I'm like, does this movie hate women? Like, and it didn't until the very end. It's like, no, but it is very definitely from the dude's perspective. Like, it doesn't.
Yeah, and I think that's a very key point where it's like there's a specific age range, and sometimes guys don't change and they don't grow out of it. They don't. Yeah. But there is like an area where like movies were teaching lessons similar to this, and guys were taking the wrong guys were taking the bad lesson out of it. Yeah. They still did it with this movie, even though they were. I felt like Mark was trying to be like, hey, don't do this. Yeah. Don't do this, because he's acting like a baby. He throws his job away because someone breaks up with him, and he like runs away. To be fair though, he left the greeting card industry, which is a smart move, because I don't know how lucrative that is. Yes. Hallmark's making more TV shows and Christmas movies than I think they're making Christmas cards. Yeah. But he acts like a child for this movie and the way that he behaves in the relationship. But I do like there are elements where it's like you see how like the bit with the sinks not working at IKEA, or like at Home Depot, like it's like one point it's charming and the another point it's not, and it just because like the relationship's not working anymore, and that happens. And like and I do like it was mentioned in the article, but when you watch it in the movie, please read the article, by the way. We'll mention a bunch, but the way he thought the party was going to go, the way you imagined a date or a meetup or any kind of interaction with someone, the way you pictured it going, and it not going the same way, and that loneliness you feel, and that sense of failure because it didn't go the way you thought it was going to go, and the way it could like emotionally make you angry or depressed, where it's like, I wish we could cut ourselves some slack and let everybody have a little dose of realism. It's like, it's not going to go that way. Let's try to go in there and be a little loose and have fun and try your best. And because of all these expectations he puts on the relationship and Zoe's character and himself, it's to the detriment of everybody. Even his friends and his coworkers. By the way, Clark Gregg, good to see you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Always.
I liked all of his scenes.
You like to see it. Yeah, and it's worth pointing out that this was the writer Scott Neustadter. I believe that's how you pronounce it. He based this off a relationship he had, and that is the hypothetical named woman, and before the movie starts, and he played the movie for her, and she related more towards Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character than she did Zooey Deschanel's character. So that's just worth pointing out. So Sam, what would you give 500 Days of Summer?
I can understand the appeal from way back when, and I think I'm glad that this allowed Mark Webb to do more movies and JGL to do more movies and Zooey Deschanel, because I feel like this, like she was already like a name, and I really enjoy New Girl, and I highly recommend that because it's a very different character, and she gets to like fully explore all these different stories and like the people that get in that show. Like that's how we got Jake Johnson, and more stuff, and Max Greenfield. That's where they're both born. So anyway, there's a lot. This is the start for a lot of really good people in Hollywood. Like a lot of very good creative people. So I have to recognize that. But as an overall enjoyment of the story, factoring in, I give it like 7.9. Like a high C, just because it's like this. He's being a baby, and like the movie tells you that, but like, is it fair to knock the filmmaker if the audience doesn't fully understand what they're trying to say? Like maybe not, maybe it is, maybe that's a longer discussion to have. I'm not to be clear, I'm not saying that. I'm positing the question, because like the movie says it up top, but people still didn't take it. People still didn't understand what he was saying. So, it's well worth diving into more. So I think, but I did think Mark Webb did an amazing job as a director in this film. Yeah. And I will happily watch more of his movies in the future.
There you go. I would give it a similar rating. I think I ding it because I'm not sure. I think that's kind of I'm not sure that's entirely what the movie is saying. I feel like there is still some lingering resentment towards Zooey Deschanel's character in this movie. I don't think it completely sheds some of the casual sexism in it. So for me, I think that's what kind of holds it back for me. So yeah, similar like high C.
Like they even when he goes on the other date and the woman's like, yeah, she was honest with you, and then like he has like a fucking meltdown for hours after. By the way, next week we're going to be diving into From Dusk Till Dawn, written by Quentin Tarantino, correct?
Yes. Written and directed by Robert Rodriguez, who also directed the scenes that Quentin Tarantino was in Pulp Fiction.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And that's super cool. And we'll be pairing it with Cabin in the Woods. So please join us on patreon.com. If you'd like to see that, let us know.
Yes.
And we'll be doing more reviews. We have Harley Quinn, the animated series reviews on our YouTube channel, as well as diving into Disney series we found on Disney Plus that our Patreons vote on. So make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe to this video and this channel. And check us out on Patreon and follow us on Twitter at OnlyStupidAnswers.
You ain't got the vowels from stupid.
At Sam Basher.
At DJ Talks Trash.
And that's the good stuff, gang. Make sure you check out the new podcast episodes every Monday, 5 a.m. PST. Make sure you download them so you can listen to them. I'm going to say on your commute, but no. You're just inside. No, you're just inside.
Yeah.
We're all inside. But stay safe. Wash your hands. Cover your mouth. Stop coughing on people. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.